to focus on the environment now, and the United Nations has called for the urgent protection of wetlands, urging governments to restore 50% of destroyed wetlands by 2030. Well, today marks World Wetlands Day, a global campaign to raise awareness on the little-known ecosystems and their role in battling climate change. To talk more about this with me now, I've got France 24's Environment Editor Valérie on the set. Valérie Dekimpe, thanks for joining us. First of all, just give us a quick breakdown. What are wetlands exactly, and why are they important?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, Jeannie. What exactly are we talking about when we say wetland? So it is natural land flooded with water either permanently or seasonally. So we're talking about marshes, peatlands, swamps. We're also talking about coastal wetlands, mangroves, or lagoons, as you can see behind me, permanently or seasonally flooded with water. They're pretty much everywhere in the world. It's not just tropical countries. Venice, for example, in Italy was built on top of a giant peatland. Also in the south of France, the Camargue is a protected area, also a wetland. In France, we also have several wetlands here in the Jura region, for example. And I think personally they're quite beautiful, especially as seen from above. But they do have this reputation of being nasty, muddy swamps full of mosquitoes. And the reality, though, is that it's not an accident that they're actually flooded with water. This is their natural state, and this is why they're such a valuable ecosystem for the health of the planet. Some quick figures for you: 40% of the world's species live and breed in wetlands. Wetlands also store 25% of the world's carbon, and that is why they're a great ally in the fight against climate change. We know, for example, that peatlands alone, so one specific kind of wetlands, they store twice as much carbon dioxide than all of the world's forests combined. So really crucial in the fight against global warming. They also act like sponges. They can absorb a lot of water. And so usually when we talk about forests, for example, tropical forests, we say that they're the lungs of the world because they produce the oxygen that we breathe. Well, wetlands, they're like the kidneys of the planet because they absorb water. They can filter the water, filter pollutants, and also act like buffer zones against floods and hurricanes. So also helping against, the consequences of climate change. The problem, though, Jeannie, as you were mentioning, is that they have been drained and destroyed over the years. Since the 1900s, 70% of the world's wetlands have disappeared. And that's because, as I said, historically, they were seen as, places spreading disease with mosquitoes. They were also drained for urban development. And that is why it's so urgent now to restore them.
It really is. I mean, even the UN says that wetlands are disappearing 3 times faster than forests at the moment. And the theme of this year's Wetlands Day is restoration. So what exactly is being done or can be done to protect and restore the wetlands?
Right. So first of all, there's already a UN framework. It's called the Ramsar Convention, and it was signed all the way back in the 70s to promote the conservation of wetlands. So critics say that it hasn't been all that effective, considering that the degradation of wetlands has actually accelerated in the last couple of decades. The process of restoration in itself, it's pretty straightforward. It's either protecting existing wetlands. In Africa, you have a number of places that are crucial and they are under threat because of various human activities. And the other way of doing that is ramping up reforestation efforts in places where wetlands have been destroyed and drained. And an important factor to keep in mind as well, Jeannie, is that in many places in the world, communities actually rely on wetlands for their livelihoods. For example, in Asia, mangroves are a source of cooking wood for many people. So it is important to have sort of a holistic approach when it comes to protecting wetlands and not just creating national parks where nobody can actually, exploit wetlands. There are efforts, as I said, to create national parks. In Argentina, for example, south of the country, a massive park has been created to protect one of Latin America's largest wetlands, peatlands. Also, government-backed restoration efforts in the United Kingdom, for example, to restore, it's called the Great North Bog. It covers more than 7,000 square kilometers of peatlands, and this place in particular in the UK can store more than 400 million tons of carbon dioxide. At the international level, also very quickly, there have been efforts recently by countries. They signed this major deal protecting biodiversity, protecting 30% of the world's land and oceans by 2030, and that will pave the way for more wetland restoration. But I think the bottom line, though, is that the role played by wetlands has been overlooked for so long by the public and also decision makers. And so what many experts are saying is that we need to change mindsets and we need to really value wetlands. And that is going to be tricky considering they have been seen as wastelands for so long.
Absolutely. Well, Valerie, thank you so much for that and for keeping an eye on it. That's our Environment Editor, Valérie Dekimpe. Thank you.